I discovered my younger brother had accessed private photos of my fiancée from my phone and was writing online about his attempts to pursue her. This whole situation is really upsetting me. I, 20M, met my fiancée, Rachel, 21F, during our first week of college. We were each other's first everything, in many ways. I actually converted to Judaism because of her, hence the different name. I'm not particularly religious, but I really appreciate the warmth of her family. My own family had some challenges, and I felt like her family provided a good foundation for how to view and live life that we're not overly strict about it. We don't keep kosher. We live together, etc. Anyway, she's incredibly beautiful. She receives a lot of attention whenever we go out. It used to bother me, and I'd get jealous sometimes, but I eventually moved past that. Now, it's almost a source of pride. It feels good knowing that people find her attractive and that she finds me attractive. I haven't felt insecure about other guys in a while. So, we go to college in my hometown. My brother, Jim, 18M, recently graduated and asked to live with me and my girlfriend. I asked my girlfriend if she was okay with it, and she agreed, so we let him move in. My brother is different from me and even from my older brother. He wasn't involved in sports. My older brother and I were on the college basketball team until he graduated last year. My brother is also shorter and a bit heavier. I'm 6 feet 5 inches and 178 pounds, while my brother is about 5 feet 9 inches and 230 pounds. He asked for help with losing weight when he moved in. Honestly, my older brother and I have wondered if he might be the result of a different parentage because he has a much darker complexion than we do. We're all Caucasian, but he looks like he could be of Italian descent, whereas we look Irish. He's also somewhat introverted, listens to a lot of metal and ska music, and doesn't seem to have many friends. Things were fine until he walked in on a private moment. Jim moved in with us in late July. My fiancée and I have an intimate relationship. Before he moved in, it was quite frequent. Whenever he would leave, we often took that as an opportunity. We made a mistake and were in the living room when he returned. I had forgotten that I had given him his own key. I had finally gotten one made, anyway. He walked in and looked very surprised. My girlfriend noticed him first and was startled. We got dressed quickly and apologized to him. He said it was okay. Looking back, it wouldn't be that surprising if he had overheard us at times or noticed the music we play. I'm pretty sure that particular artists' albums are often played during intimate moments. Anyway, things were fine. A week later, Jim asked me about sending suggestive messages and if I had any advice for him. I've always been the person he asks about relationships and intimacy. He said a girl was offering to send pictures. I told him never to ask for them or pressure her, to avoid saying anything too crude when complimenting her, and never to share them. He then asked if I had ever sent such messages, and I admitted I had a couple of times. Looking back, I think he was just trying to get me to answer that question for him. 2 days later, he asked to borrow protection. I told him I didn't have any, and he said, "That's right, you weren't using any with Rachel." This made me very uncomfortable, and I asked him if he had been looking, pointing out how inappropriate that would be. He quickly apologized, saying he noticed when we jumped up after seeing him and that he didn't deliberately look. I believed him, went to the store to get him some protection. He didn't want to go with me because he thought it would look strange, gave it to him, and explained that the only reason Rachel and I don't use it is because we were both tested and have an understanding about the potential consequences. I also told him if I ever found out he didn't use it, I'd be very angry. I know it might seem contradictory, but we prefer not to use them, and my girlfriend says she feels closer to me without them. That's not the main issue here. I also offered to take him to get vaccinated. He agreed, and we took care of that 5 days ago. I lost my phone and was really worried, searching the apartment for it. When I went into my brother's room, he quickly got out of bed and hid something under the covers. Deciding to tease him a bit to make myself feel better about losing my phone, I reached under the blanket for what he was hiding, and it was my phone. I have to travel a lot for basketball, and while I was away, Rachel would send me private photos and videos. My brother had been emailing them to himself, along with some less revealing pictures of her. Furious, I started to physically confront him, but I stopped myself before I went too far. I made him search his room immediately, and that's when I found one of Rachel's undergarments hidden under his bed. I then told him to open his laptop and wait in the living room while I checked it. I wanted to make sure I deleted any and all pictures of Rachel. I couldn't find any on the laptop, but I accessed his email and deleted everything he had sent to himself. I then checked his internet history just to be safe, and what I found was shocking. He had been posting on some dating/hookup forum asking for advice on how to pursue his brother's fiancée. A few days later, he claimed he had been successful and was updating the forum regularly, almost like a personal blog. He started this when he first moved in and was basing some of it on real-life details. Here are a few examples. LOL, she seems so unhappy when she's with him. I was intimate with her after she was with that loser. LOL, using protection my brother bought me. Wow, her figure looks amazing in this. This one included a picture of the undergarment he took. The rest of the posts were paired with images found online, suggestive depictions based on things I had described earlier. That morning, he had mentioned sharing some pictures, referring to the ones he was taking from my phone. Even worse, he had already posted pictures of her from Facebook, including one of her in a swimsuit, as well as a few from a website belonging to our friend who designs and sells dresses. This friend had asked Rachel and a couple of other girls. We knew to model them. On his computer, I also found a letter addressed to Rachel asking her to leave me and be with him. It was very strange. In the letter, he constantly criticized me, claiming she would be happier with him, and called her the most beautiful girl in the world. I erased his hard drive to ensure there was nothing else of hers, checked his phone, gave him $200 in case I deleted anything important with the wipe, gathered everything he would need for his classes, and asked him to leave. I told him to go back home, that I was telling Rachel, but I wouldn't involve our parents as long as he didn't cause a problem about me asking him to leave. I also told him to have Mom come pick up the rest of his belongings. I warned him that if he didn't delete everything he had saved, I'd have no choice but to tell our parents. I checked later to confirm, and he had deleted it. Telling Rachel was incredibly difficult. She was very upset and said she felt disgusted. We had an honest conversation and decided that the only way we'd feel comfortable having him back in our lives was if he committed to therapy for a significant amount of time. I sent him a text outlining our conditions. Rachel blocked him on her phone, social media, etc., and made her Facebook account private. She seemed really shaken up for a couple of days. The first day was the hardest. She was too scared to be alone. I didn't realize this immediately and didn't think much of it when she said she wanted to watch me practice my shooting. We did that, and when I drove home to drop her off so I could go by the school to pick up some documents, she asked to come with me. After that, I was going to play some basketball with friends, and again, she asked to come along. That's when I understood what was happening and asked her why she didn't want to go home. She admitted she thought I hadn't taken Jim's key back. I had told her that night, but she must have forgotten or not heard me and didn't feel safe. I was very upset that my younger brother had made her feel scared in her own home. She talked to her therapist about it the next day during her regular appointment. She's starting to feel like herself again, being her sweet and fun self. We even had a nice date night yesterday. I, however, still feel lost about this whole situation. What should I do from here? Our parents don't know, but I asked my older brother for advice. I'm so angry about it, and irrationally, I feel a sense of violation that he saw her in such a private way. I feel like he took something precious from both me and her. I also feel bad about what seems like a complete loss of affection. For him, I don't feel like I care about him at all anymore. I'm considering seeing a therapist to work through this, but I'm not sure. I went to one when I was younger and had trouble communicating, so I'm worried it could be an expensive waste of time. I also don't know how to tell my parents he's not welcome at our wedding this winter and that we won't be attending family dinners anymore. I told him I wouldn't tell them what happened if he didn't make a scene about me asking him to leave. I'd really appreciate any advice or perspective on this whole situation. Edit. I forgot to mention this, but I took screenshots of the online posts to be safe. If he misrepresents things to my parents, I have evidence of everything. Opie responding to comments about telling his parents. My fiancé and I are going to meet with my parents tonight to discuss things. Thanks for the advice. I'll take it all into consideration. I'm going to do it over the phone. My dad has been physically aggressive with me in the past. They've never fully accepted my conversion. If my brother has given them a false narrative, they might become defensive and start blaming me. Update 1 day later. My parents won't be attending our wedding. Rachel and I went to meet my parents at their house, and Jim was at my uncle's house while we were there. I told my parents that I needed to explain why Jim wasn't living with us anymore. They said they already knew and that Jim had told them everything. When they said everything, I was initially skeptical, but Jim really had confessed to all of it. I had printed out a draft of the message I was planning to send them, and they confirmed that Jim had admitted to everything. He had even asked for help. I was surprised. He has already started therapy and is going twice a week. Anyway, throughout this entire conversation, my parents were very understanding towards Rachel. They apologized for raising someone capable of such hurtful actions. I felt it was the right time to make it clear that Jim couldn't come to our wedding. My mom immediately became very upset about this. She said she wanted our whole family there and insisted we'd regret not having him there for the rest of our lives. I told her that Jim still made Rachel uncomfortable and unsafe to be around, and my mom asked Rachel if that was true. Rachel confirmed this. At that point, my parents said they wouldn't attend without him. They added that even though they'll always love and support me, they also want to support Jim. My parents' initial plan, along with Jim's therapist, was for him to meet us once a month for an hour if we were open to it. I told them that wasn't going to happen. Rachel wasn't comfortable with that, but I agreed to meet him alone. Rachel said that was okay, and when I got home, I sent Jim a text setting some boundaries. 1. We would meet in a public place. 2. If he said anything inappropriate, I would leave. 3. No lying. 4. Absolutely no contact with Rachel. I also told him that he had one more chance, that he had truly lost my trust and would have to work to earn it back, that he would likely never have a personal conversation with Rachel again, that I would never forget what he did but could possibly move forward, and that there were no guarantees. He sent me a text saying, "I understand. I'm so sorry. My parents wanted me to talk to him this Sunday, which is also my birthday. I told them I wasn't ready to do that. I'm still quite angry and that I wouldn't start seeing him monthly until next year after the wedding. I'm unsure if I expect him to genuinely try to become a better person. I'm not counting on it. At least this way, if he makes mistakes, my parents won't have a reason to side with him over me. Also, if he does mess up before next year, I'll know he wasn't sincere." Once we got back home, I asked my fiancée if she was okay with this plan. She said she was. I again asked if she wanted to involve the authorities, but she said she didn't want to. She has been consistent about this. She was a little sad about my parents not being there, but I reassured her, and we went to bed. I feel much better now, knowing what the future holds. I suppose I'm not that upset about my parents not coming. They did tell me that they still loved me, and our wedding is going to be quite small and intimate. My older brother is returning to the country for it. That's what's most important to me, and he said he'd be there no matter what. We're actually going to spend a year with him overseas after we graduate. We're not having a traditional honeymoon. I just want to thank everyone who offered advice. I really considered everything.